Well, Gavin, Israel's defense team here, is essentially going to lay out that the war aims that Israel's leaders, from the prime minister to the defense minister to the head of the Israeli army, the war aims have been incredibly clear. The intent here is to destroy and dismantle Hamas, a terrorist group that carried out and provoked this war with a deadly and ghastly attack on Israel, and that has been the laser focus of this campaign, and that dismantling this group and pushing them out will hearken a new kind of leadership in the Gaza Strip for the Palestinians, and that the intent has never been against the Palestinian people. And I can say, covering this war from the very first day, Israel has made it clear time and time again, said it openly, that it is not at war with the Palestinian people. Now, where this case gets a little tricky for Israel is in the incitement to genocide claim. And that is those voices, some even within the Israeli government, that have called for mass destruction in the Gaza Strip. For example, there was a lawmaker that threatened, said we should, drop a nuclear weapon on the Gaza Strip. Now, Israel will argue that that lawmaker was suspended from the government and prevented from joining any meetings or taking any votes, which is a clear sign that he does not represent the policy of the Israeli government. And that is another point. Israel's going to argue that anybody who made racist or genocidal threats to the Palestinian people in Gaza are not directing this war. They're not in a position of power. They're not in the war cabinet. And so essentially the claim of genocide, they will say, is baseless, meritless. And of course, there's a lot more harsh words being used here in Israel for the case. The prime minister calling it a great hypocrisy, an outrage, that the world is essentially upside down, that it is Hamas, in fact, who claims that it wants to wipe out Israel.
So this is a second of a two-day hearing at the ICJ. The difference for many viewers, the ICJ and the ICC, the International Criminal Court, for for individuals, the ICJ for state actions. Bear in mind, you've said to me before about polls in Israel, largely or majority supporting the war at the moment. How is this being viewed in Israel? Is it being reflected at all, the result of this hearing?
I mean, people here generally are angry and outraged by this trial. Not just the leaders, but, I can talk to people at a cafe and they think it's pretty outrageous. I mean, this is Israel's fighting a cruel enemy that it openly says that they would carry out October 7th again and again and again. And Israel is taking measures that no modern army has ever taken to prevent the death of civilians, whether that's dropping pamphlets, telling civilians where to go, in other words, telling the enemy where they're going to be attacking next. They are facilitating the entry of humanitarian aid now, even though that aid is not sufficient. There are a lot of players here that determine the distribution of aid, and the problems are not only Israel's. So there's a lot of anger here. Having said all that, Israel's taking this case seriously because the court, while the case of the allegation of genocide will take years to adjudicate, the immediate injunctions are binding and could influence Israel's relations with its allies. So if we see an injunction that says Israel needs to help and get more aid in, Israel needs to, move some of those displaced Palestinians, Israel will end up trying to, I believe, and experts believe, listen to this court ruling in some way.
And I guess the difference between Antony Blinken,